Hey, welcome to another episode of Disney Dust. It's DisneyDwayne here, and we have Greg Gould back again. We did a review on Moana 2, and we went to watch Lilo and Stitch, the live-action version today, and we have many thoughts, and we're going to go into really quite a bit of in-depth detail, almost like a side-by-side comparison. So there's lots to talk about, but hey, please go watch the movie first if you want to before watching this. If not, we're going to get into some spoilers. So right off the bat, let's talk about the environment, where this was set. Greg, can you explain to us, with the comparison, where the original was set?
Well, it's back in Hawaii, which is where Lilo and Stitch should be, because it's a quintessential Hawaiian setting. The original animated film was set in what is supposed to be Hanapepe, where they took inspiration from the local surroundings. But this one, they moved it to Oahu. They moved it to Oahu, which is the island where Honolulu, Hawaii's main city, is located. So it was a bit of a change from very rural, rustic Kauai to urban, more grunge, more touristy downtown Honolulu.
Right, and the difference is that, like, Stitch says that he wants to go to a city to destroy, right? It's built in his nature, and so Kauai, as you can see in the animated film, was so beautifully drawn and everything, but in the movie, I don't know for what reason. So let's just get into this, okay? This movie has made a lot of choices that didn't make sense, and we're going to go through a lot of what didn't make sense for us.
Big thing is, the big thing, the big elephant hippopotamus thing in the room is Captain Gantu is missing. He's not looming over the Grand Councilwoman like in the original. In fact, he just disappears.
Right,
and
he's non-existent.
He's non-existent.
And they made Jamba the bad guy. So we're jumping to the end now because it makes sense to talk about it now.
This is a spoiler.
Right, yeah. So Jamba's the bad guy, and he's not meant to be a bad guy. I mean, Greg, you said you love so many things about Jamba, right?
Jamba is the Russian scientist. He comes in, he's a mad scientist, and he plays on this whole idea of the crazy Soviet scientist.
Right.
He's got wacky ideas. He's created Stitch because he's insane.
Yes.
But he's also lovable.
Yes, and there's a journey that we see throughout this movie where Jamba's observing what he thinks he can predict Stitch is going to do, but then later on, as an inventor, starts to be surprised by Stitch choices, right? Which involve Stitch changing.
He notices Stitch is not working according to how he programmed Stitch.
Right.
Stitch is showing empathy, compassion, love, emotion, which gradually starts evolving throughout the film. And this is the original animated film, I must caveat.
Yes. So that relationship is lost in the live action, right?
And he becomes evil.
So Jamba being evil just doesn't work. It's a convenient way to sort of, I guess, shorten the live action film. And what's also interesting is that as Stitch learns how to be empathetic and learns to, have a change of heart, we also see in the animated movie, Stitch always being in the background, very clearly observing what's going on. That's how he's learning. They show what he's observing. They also show him in the foreground observing this. All point of focus is another thing that in this live action movie is lost. There is no point of focus. We're not sure what we're watching.
Because this all leads up to the incredibly climactic moment in the original film, which is one of the most beautiful animated sequences poignant, in my opinion, that Disney ever put to screen. And that's when he says, Ohana. And it's the first time he reveals that he can talk to Nani. And he's also... but he's not just revealing that he's a sentient alien, he's also revealing that he's got an emotional connection for the first time. It's the first time those two characters build a relationship and empathy bridge. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets
Good job. That's very nice.
Oh, forgot.
Another observation is the relationship dynamics. Okay, so one is the fact that Jamba was actually imprisoned, kind of, right? And then in order to capture Stitch back, they were trying to go for other people, but then they realized that the inventor was the best person to do that. But then he was unwilling. That was the difference, right? In this live action movie, he was willing to do it, but in the animation, both Play Clay and Jamba were both unwilling in the animated version, which makes it funny that they're sent to Earth to do this. But in the live action, they were both willing.
Yeah, they don't want to be there.
Yeah, so it doesn't make it exciting. So I'm going to jump to the point where in the live action movie, they failed to mention this really wonderful thing that establishes a lot of the movie.
It's a running gag.
Mosquitoes are an endangered species, therefore Earth cannot be destroyed, right?
Well, that's why.
And humans can't be destroyed because they feed on humans, right?
That's right. They're part of the mosquito. Humans are part of the mosquito food chain.
Right, and therefore Stitch. This creates the perfect environment for Stitch to go hide behind humans, because then Play Clay and Jumba can't shoot at the humans, and so
That's entirely why Lilo is useful to Stitch, and that's
Right.
why Stitch goes to Lilo
Yes.
in the first place, because Lilo is a human shield in the
Right.
original animated film.
who kind of falls in love in that sense, adopting a pet because she's outcast as much as Stitch is, and this is cleverly woven into with the story of the Ugly Duckling, which again the live action movie didn't have. And then putting Stitch and Lilo right in the center, with Stitch hiding behind Lilo, but having the two of them trying to get him. But then also Nani is watching Stitch very carefully, so Stitch is being watched. There's this parallel. This is not clear in the live action movie, right?
I think the mosquito gag was just so ridiculous because it's funny. Like, you're not killing humans.
Right.
The whole alien dynamics of their alien bureaucracy working around a mosquito subplot, which is just silly.
Yes, it's silly, but it gives reason, it gives
gives reason,
context
yeah.
to the whole movie. If I had watched the live action movie by itself, I would have just thought, Sunday morning flavor, right? Nothing too deep, but it also makes me wonder, like, what went on in these writers' head, the people that adapted this. Like, how did they miss all these wonderful nuances, right? And the other thing is, this whole time, what was powerful at the end was when Lilo was abducted by the spaceship and goes off, and finally we see Nani alone with Stitch. Now, these two had never gotten along, right? They could not have that conversation because Lilo was always there to protect and to make things better. But so in the live action movie, this doesn't ever happen. So we don't get to see how Nani and Stitch resolve things.
There's no time of them isolated alone.
And we don't get the sense of Lilo being missing, families being talked about so much, right? So being part of that family, that member is missing, and how the two come together. So that's just beautiful, I thought.
In fact, this is another scary big spoiler, is the whole original animated film spaceship chase sequence. That whole sequence just doesn't exist in the new animated film, and there's no replacement either.
No, yes, because they've taken out Captain Guntu, right? What's his name? Here's another interesting thing, Greg. You want to share with us what the parallel was? How Stitch landing on Earth for the first time versus towards the end of the movie, he leaves and then lands back on Earth again, and he sort of meets the same thing, the truck and the frog, right?
Yeah, in the original animated film opening sequence, it's quite symbolic, and there's a lot of metaphor in the scene, because the first thing that Stitch is confronted with on Earth is a frog, which he tries to shoot, and a truck, which runs him over.
Right.
And then after Stitch makes his emotional journey from being a destructive monster to a lovable creature with empathy, the same sequence plays out during the chase sequence in the animated film, where he sees the frog again, but in this time the frog saves him.
Yes.
By jumping on his head
before
he gets shot.
Yeah.
And a big truck arrives, a petrol tanker, but this time it doesn't run over Stitch.
Right.
This time Stitch uses it to save Lilo, because he cares about Lilo now.
Yes, so you see that difference. Back to that, but the frog actually saves. There's even a relationship with the frog.
He loves the frog.
Yeah.
David in the first movie, in the animated film, is very much portrayed as a romantic interest for Nani, and he's a very lovable character. He likes Nani. They've taken away a lot of the romantic interest out of the Nani and David subplot, and David comes across much more like a background character. He doesn't play such a core, growing role as the new father figure.
Yeah, and it's clear in the animated towards the end, when you see in the pictures, David fills that role. Like, he's clearly stepped in as the father figure, and also completing that picture of family, right? Although, about David, I was so happy because the original voice over artist for David in the animated film, Jason Scott Lee, who's Hawaiian, and also someone who's done a lot of Disney stuff as well. He was featured in the live action Lilo and Stitch. I didn't read up on anything, but I had a hunch he would show up, and he did. So the
Hawaiian roller coaster ride.
yes, like what was beautiful
beautiful
in the animated version was that it actually showed how Stitch became more
Hawaiian?
trustworthy and more, letting go of his fear of water, because it's all about relationship, and it's all because of Lilo, watching Lilo enjoy herself on the waves and trusting her, right? But in the live
new
action
sequence was butchered.
in the live action, he's watching a bulldog, and that's how he got his courage.
I've got
who's
so many.
this bulldog? It's not important at all. When David actually saves the day from Stitch drowning, but in the live action movie, if you watch this, you would have seen this ridiculous scene where Nani goes underwater to save Stitch. She's not supposed to save Stitch because she's at odds with Stitch, right? She doesn't want him in Lilo's life. She, in the animated version, kicks him down underwater because she thinks he's attacking Lilo, and so David saves him. But in the live action movie, she can't rise up to the top. So instead of rising up, she holds her breath. She walks him all the way back to the shore. And they played this dramatic music. She's doing her thunder thigh walk under, and it's just ridiculous.
This was the climactic ending.
It's ridiculous
of the whole film.
Yeah. Here's something else. Okay. In the live action, Stitch seems to just go off and become wild for no reason, right? Like he's, so does Lilo. Like, okay, for no reason almost. But in the animated version, you see
he's so much less destructive.
Yes, you see why he's destructive by accident. It's because he's either perturbed by photographers flashing, or he is just innocently trying to experiment with the blender, and it goes crazy, and he attacks it back. So he doesn't mess up the house for no reason. He doesn't attack people for no reason. But in the live action, he starts off attacking a wedding,
and that's how he ends up in the pound.
Yeah, yes, correct. and also because Nani loses her job because of the fire he created in the live action. But in the animated version, the reason why she got fired was because
Clay and Jumbo were trying to capture him.
He was fighting back in the restaurant.
In the new film, Lilo just happens to be wandering round the pound, whereas it's all very bizarre. And then the aunt turns up to buy a dog with her.
But in the animated version, it is very clear why she goes to the pound. It is because her sister saw her wishing on a star for a new friend. And that's why they're at the pound, is to get a dog for Lilo. It's not clear in the live action.
Because Lilo is an outcast child. She doesn't have friends in the town, in the town she lives in Hawaii.
And she pays $2 to get a certificate of ownership over Stitch.
Verified by the state of Hawaii, which is very important.
Right, and this plays an important part to a scene later where the Grand Counselor woman decides to let Stitch stay because aliens abide by rules, and because
they made them very bureaucratic.
Yes, and so
which is a great running
whereas
gag.
in the live action, she just kind of decided on a whim.
In the you're right. In the new live action, the Grand Councilwoman has a change of heart.
Yeah.
So which is quite out of character. In the original, it's the pound certificate that comes back again as being crucially important because Lilo has bought Stitch, and the aliens have to abide by the rules.
So in the live action, we have Clay and Jumba. Right? They turn into human beings. Right, but it's not so in the animation. What do you think works and why doesn't it work?
The trailer came out for this new Disney film, and Clay, who was traditionally portrayed as getting into drag and really liking dressing up as a woman in the original film, was not in drag. And fans said, what happened to Clay? Because he's like one of the original hilarious characters of this film, and this is his thing. And the director apparently said it didn't work. And I'm watching the film going, I don't get why this wouldn't work, because it's so funny. You've got two aliens dressing up in hilarious wigs and overcoats to try and blend in.
I thought it was funny, the running gag of him being in a different wig and a different outfit all the time. There was so much more humor in the animated version, and so it kind of fell flat. Another weird choice. Like, why would they not have them?
It was just such a fun thing in the original. And it wasn't because of anything just more funny than Clay enjoying being a human
Yep.
through women's clothing.
Yeah. Let's talk about the candid moments that were missing in the live action. Stuff like Elvis. I mean, do you have stuff to add?
Elvis, it's such a big part of the plot.
Yeah.
And Elvis is such a big character in the original film.
The only way for Nani to still have to be a caregiver of Lilo was for Stitch to be a model citizen, right?
Yep, and
there's
this is what Bubbles says. Bubbles says you must be a model citizen. Model citizen.
Right.
But the model citizen in Lilo's mind is the king, Elvis Presley.
Yes.
But it's strangely absent from the new film,
It
where
is.
Elvis gets a few references, but Elvis doesn't play the big role of being
To motivate.
to being the motivation and the
Yep.
role model for what
Yeah.
Lilo is making Stitch into.
Yep. And there's no like pun on the songs like Devil in Disguise. Like, you know.
You're a devil in disguise.
There were some classic lines that were left out. Like just the scene of
Aloha!
them screaming into pillows during their fight was kind of
That
like
is-
frustrated till they had nothing else to do but scream there. Also the fuzzy line, like
I like fuzzy!
yeah, like Stitch owning who he is, like I like my fuzzy self, like, you know, starting to take ownership. Those lines were all gone from the live action for no reason.
There was a lot of emotion taken out, and I think also the acting performance by the actress portraying Nani just fails to be really resonant in terms of the delivery of the subtle nuances. There's so much
Yes.
more subplot given to her, though.
Although I have to say, Lilo did quite well. She was very nuanced. I actually enjoyed her performance a lot. Right? She pushed a girl on the stage, whereas in the animated version, it was an accident.
It was an accident. She trips over in the
she's not
original.
that much of a brat. Like I didn't have to want to hate her, but I did.
But they've also made they've deliberately made both Lilo and Stitch less likable, and a lot more emphasis goes into Nani, and it's not without precedent in modern Disney films, because a lot of the plot now has to do with Nani wanting to be a marine biologist.
Yeah.
And a new running gag, which is everyone keeps getting confused what a marine biologist is.
Yeah,
Which
and-
I don't, it's just really weird.
And because of that, she doesn't end up being with Lilo at the end of the movie. The whole point was for them to be together. That's what they're fighting for. Why is she going off somewhere? I mean, it's you know,
Nani goes to university to be a
Marine
strong,
biologist.
independent woman who
Right.
rejects her family.
and like I feel like they kind of like lost the focus of that. I mean, sure, she has to go study at some point, but like, don't put this in this movie. The whole fact that their blaster can have a teleporter for them to visit each other is still not the same as Nani living with Lilo. Like,
The original plot was so simple and so elegant.
Yeah.
It's two siblings, and this is what I love about Lilo and Stitch compared to other Disney movies, is there's no princesses. It's a really sentimental, intimate relationship between two sisters, and dealing with the trauma of mutual loss and their self-discovery about what it means for Nani to become a woman in taking charge and responsibility, and also what it means for both of them having each other's love in a time of loss, the loss of their parents who died in a premature car accident.
yeah.
And it's so simple.
Yeah.
Is they're pulling together their family and finding strength within themselves
Yeah.
through that bond.
It's missing so many things.
It's missing that.
Even
It's
that
missing.
section where Stitch pulls out his other two hands to reveal to
They
Lilo
just pop out.
that he is an alien, right? That was missing. Like, that was an important scene. Like, he's being vulnerable, and they actually hit a point where Lilo didn't like him. She was very angry at him for destroying the home.
No, they decided to scrap that.
Yeah.
Out. Cutting table.
Yeah. What did you think about Lilo and Stitch live action? Should Disney continue making live action movies in this direction? What is going on, Disney? Why?
I wanted to be so good, but I feel traumatized.
I mean, is this like, it's about ticking the boxes around a meeting where you have to meet all these criteria? Like, is it a case of too many cooks spoiling the soup? Well, let us know in the comments below. And we'll catch you in the next review. Have a magical day. Otherwise, you're going to put your hand to the camera.
Wait.
Never done that.
Wait,